Hello there, and welcome to Anatomy with Nicole Schaefer. I'm your host, Nicole Schaefer. So, we are going to go over the bones and the bony prominences of the upper body today. So, let me see if someone will lend me a hand. Alright, so we have a hand here. If you don't know, now you know. So, this is a hand, super creepy, super scary, super dope. So let's go over the cool things of the hand. Like we learned today, and I also learned in my undergrad, there are 8 bones, and you have 8 carpal bones. And good way to remember them is some lovers try positions that they can't handle, you know. So let's go over that. We got the scaphoid right here. It's going to be on the thumb side. Scaphoid, reading it left to right. Then we have the lunate right there. Then we have the triquetrium on the pinky side. Then underneath you have the pisiform because he's pissed off and he's hiding from everyone. From there, going back to the top left, we have our trapezium. There we go, get those confused. Trapezoid, capitate, and then the hamate. If you like to remember the capitate, it's the middle finger one. Okay, inappropriate. Be an adult. So those are the 8 bones, the 8 carpal bones. And from there, we have our metacarpal bones. All right? So these are our metacarpal bones. We have 5 of them. And then from there, you just have your phalanges. Okay? So that is the hand. Moving on. So from the hand, we are moving on to the arm. If you don't know, this guy, maybe if I should hold it the right way, fits in right here. Can't see. Before we move on though, I forgot to mention in the hand, this is the hook of the hamate. You can see right there, it kind of hooks out, not to be confused with the pisiform, but the hook of the hamate is right back there. All right. Moving on. So from there, let's start with our humerus. This is our humerus, super cool, does a lot of great stuff. Hangs out right here. So on the humerus, this is the head of the humerus. From there we have the humeral neck. You know what? Let's get a closer look. So, Dummy Dan, show us your humerus. Right there. This is his humerus. It attaches to his ulna and radius, but don't worry, we'll get there. So the humerus, let's talk about some of the key things here. Up here, we have our humeral head. Moving down, we have the neck of the humerus right here. All right, don't worry about this. We'll talk about what that is later. Then from there, we have the shaft of the humerus. It's that big, long, bony thing going all the way down. Then we have our, come back up here, greater and lesser tubercles of the humerus. From there, we have this little yellow thing is our deltoid tuberosity. This is where a muscle attaches. From there, we have our bicepsural groove. If we move this thing, there's a little groove right here that one of our biceps, I believe it's the long head of the bicep long ligament attaches to up here. We're just going to put that back for you guys because I don't know who put that there. Moving on, so we have the trochlea. The trochlea is going to be down here. It's this T right here. I like to think of it as like a trough, trochlea, right here, not to be confused with the medial epicondyle. All right, trochlea, and then we have our, I don't know if I can say this right, but our capitulium right here on the lateral side. And from there, we have our medial and lateral epicondyles. You can see a little bit different than those two that we just talked about. From there, coming around to the back, this is our olecranon fossa. Very nice. It fits in for our olecranon right here. And that is our elbow joint. If we don't have a little divot there, then we'd be in trouble and we'd not be able to bend our elbow. So, let's move on. Okay, next we're going to talk about the radius and ulna, which are going to be these two guys. Now, a great way to remember this, if you're having a day, make this motion with your hand. Your thumb or your pinky, which one makes more of a U and which one makes more of an R. The thumb makes more of an R shape, so that's how you know that is your radial side. Your pinky makes more of a U, or a little hook, so that's how you know it's your ulnar side. From there, let's look at this guy. This is a right arm. So my pinky side makes more of that U, so this is going to be my ulnar, or my ulna. From there, this is going to be my radius because my thumb makes more of that R shape. Now let's go into some of the bony prominences in this guy. We'll start with the radius. There's only 3 things that we need to go over. Up here, I'll use my pen. Up here is the radial head. From there we have a radial tuberosity. Tuberosity is just something that sticks out. This is our radial tuberosity. Sticks out towards our ulna. And then down here is our radial styloid process. Now, super cool thing that you actually taught us today. Come over here, Dummy Dan. You taught us that we can't do as much radial deviation because we have that styloid process physically limiting our range of motion. We can do more degrees of ulnar deviation because we physically don't have something stopping us. So again, radial deviation is less than ulnar deviation because of that styloid process. That gets in the way right there. Fun facts, the more you know. Anyways, go away, Dan. Next, I want to talk about the ulna. A lot more things to talk about here. Start off, this right here, it's our elbow. Can't really tell because I'm just throwing around some bones, but this is our elbow, and that is called the olecranon process. So this pokey thing that goes into the olecranon fossa is back of our arm is that elbow. The trochlear notch, moving on from there, the trochlear notch is super hard to see on this thing, but it's going to be more medial than this. It's within there's a little notch that helps with this joint movement. From there we have our, how do you say it? Coronoid process. It's just this pokey thing right here. Hello, pokey thing right there. We love to label pokey things in anatomy. It's a good time. From there we're going to move on to our radial notch. So it is going to be another pokey thing that points towards the radius. So on the ulnar side, that guy right there, you can see it really nicely on these set of bones. Moving on, we're going on to our ulnar tuberosity. Ulnar tuberosity is going to be, just kidding, we're going to talk about our ulnar styloid process. It's going to be this little dude right down there. And we're going to talk about our ulnar head, which is actually down here. This is what we consider our ulnar head, which I think is unique because our radial head is, up here. Yeah. We will talk about the clavicle. The clavicle can be found right here, and some people, if they're super bony, you can just see their clavicle while they're standing there. So on the clavicle, we have 3 main things that we're looking at. We have the sternal end, which obviously attaches to the sternum. Then we have our acromion, blah, 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 end right there. You see where that little number 9 is, or a B, whatever. And then we have our clavicle body. There's like a little whoop, Nike swoosh. From there, let's talk about our sternum. We're already here. So this is going to be our manubrium. This is our sternal body. It is fused there. And then all the way down here, this is our xiphoid process. Fun fact, if you're giving CPR on someone, and if you do it in the wrong spot, too low, or if they're older, maybe their bones are more frail, if you give CPR, you could snap this thing right off, and apparently you can feel it when it happens. That is my biggest nightmare. And then from there, let's talk about the scapula. We have a lot to talk about with the scapula. Here is one of them. So let's start it off. The coracoid process of the scapula, it's easier to see in this position. So your coracoid process is going to be this guy right here. It's going to be more medial, more lower than your olecranon process, which is going to stick out right here so beautifully. What do we have next? Superior and inferior angle. So to do that, we have to go to the back. This is going to be your superior. This is your inferior angle. Totally forgot what's next. Alright, from there we have our spine. This is the spine of the scapula right here, super easy. And from here, you can find the infraspinatus fossa, inferior spinatus inferior to the spine. This is where your infraspinatus muscle is going to rest. And then up here we have our supraspinatus, superior to the spine, above, so where your supraspinatus muscle will lay as well. From there we have our glenoid labrum, or labrum. So this is your glenoid fossa. A labrum is just something that deepens the socket, so it's going to help depress the humeral head and give it a bigger socket to rest in. So we talked about our axillary border, but we did not talk about the vertebral border, which just makes sense because here's your vertebrae. It's the closest one to the vertebrae. And I believe that is all of them for the scapula. Ooh, so good, Dummy Dan. You're doing amazing. All right, now for corrections corner, which are some of the things that I missed going through the first time. This little guy right here, that is the hook of the hamate. See if you can see him. Bang, bang, you are the hook. Hamate comes around here. Got to make sure that I label that. And one more thing I forgot to mention is the ulnar tuberosity. So you can actually see it really well on this guy. So it's going to be this pokey thing right here is your, there we go. This right here is your ulnar tuberosity. And remember our ulnar, if we make that motion with our hand, it's that U side. And yeah, I believe that is it. Thank you for hanging out with me and putting up with this awful video, I'm sure as it will turn out.